They laughed at us until we united with humans. In the great hall of the Galactic Council, many races had gathered. The hall was wide and high, made of silver metal and clear crystal. Soft light came from the ceiling, like a calm sky. Floating seats moved into place as delegates arrived from hundreds of worlds. Most of the races were strong and proud. Some were tall and covered in scales. Some were made of stone and light. They all had many eyes and sharp claws. They all had powerful fleets and long histories of war. Among them sat a small and quiet group. They were thin, soft-skinned, and slow in movement. Their bodies were not built for battle. Their home world was peaceful, full of water and green land. They had little need for weapons in the past. Their leader was an old male named Frank. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were tired but kind. Beside him stood a young female named Lisa. She was nervous but brave. She had trained for many years to speak for her people. Frank slowly rose and walked to the center platform. He spoke in a calm voice. He warned the council about a growing empire in the dark regions of space. This empire was strong and cruel. They took worlds, used the people, and burned what they could not control. Their fleets were large, their soldiers fearless, and their leaders cold. Frank said that his people had seen the enemy scouts. He said the attack would come soon. At first, the hall was silent. Then soft laughter spread. One tall reptile leader leaned forward and smiled. He said, "The old one was afraid of shadows." Another insect-like ruler clicked his jaws and said, "Small races always feared storms." A heavy stone being said that the council had faced many threats before and always survived. Lisa felt her chest tighten. She looked at Frank, but he stayed calm. She stepped forward and spoke. She said their sensors were clear. Their worlds were in the path of the coming fleet. She said the enemy would not stop with them. Once their systems fell, the rest of the galaxy would be next. This time the laughter was louder. One of the proud war races said that if the enemy came, they would crush them easily. Another said the small blue race should learn to fight instead of beg. Lisa lowered her eyes, but inside she felt anger and fear. Far from them on the human platform, a small group watched in silence. Humans were still new to the council. Many races saw them as loud, emotional, and young. Their ships were not the biggest, and their empire was not wide. But they had grown fast, and they learned faster. Their leader was a calm man named Daniel. His hair was dark, and his eyes were sharp. Beside him stood a scientist named Amy, and a Navy officer named Luke. Daniel listened to Frank and Lisa with care. When the council began to move on to the next topic, Daniel raised his hand. The hall quieted. He asked Frank to repeat the location of the scouts and the speed of the enemy fleet. Frank answered, surprised but grateful. Amy checked the data on her tablet and whispered to Luke. Luke frowned. He had seen patterns like this before in old war records. Daniel then spoke to the council. He said the data showed a real threat. He said the enemy's movement matched known invasion paths. He said ignoring it would be a mistake. Some leaders turned toward him with mild interest. Others looked annoyed. One powerful being asked why humans cared. Daniel answered simply. He said no one should stand alone when danger comes. This made the hall quiet again, but the mood was still cold. The council decided not to act. They would watch and wait. Frank and Lisa returned to their seats, their hearts heavy. Lisa whispered that no one believed them. Frank placed a gentle hand on her arm and said that at least one race had listened. He looked toward the humans. After the session ended, the hall began to empty. Floating platforms carried delegates away. Daniel walked toward Frank and Lisa. He introduced himself and the others. His voice was respectful. He said humans wanted to learn more about the threat. He said they might be able to help. Lisa felt a small spark of hope, but also fear. She had heard what others said about humans, that they were wild in war, that they did not give up easily, that when they fought with everything. Frank nodded and thanked Daniel. They agreed to meet again in a private chamber. As they walked away, several alien leaders watched them. Some shook their heads. Some smiled in a way that was not kind.
One whispered that the weak were joining with the young.
Another said it would not change anything, but far beyond the council hall in the dark of space, silent ships were already moving. Their engines burned like cold stars. And they were coming closer. Dot after the council session, Lisa and Frank returned to their home world. The cities were quiet, and the people worked slowly, tending gardens and caring for children. The streets were clean, and the air smelled faintly of flowers and water. Their people had never needed strong armies. They had always believed that peace was enough. But now, the shadow of the enemy fleet was real. Scouts had been seen at the edge of the system. Frank and Lisa knew their people had little time to prepare. They needed allies. They needed humans. A small ship waited at the spaceport. Lisa and Frank boarded it, along with a small crew. The engines hummed as it lifted into space. Stars passed by like small silver sparks. Lisa felt a mix of fear and excitement. She had never traveled so far, especially to a human colony world. After several days of travel, they approached a human planet. It was green and blue, with large oceans and forests. Cities were spread across the land, shining under the sun. Lisa watched from the viewing window. She had never seen anything like it. It was peaceful, yet she could feel the human energy, their determination. The ship landed on a city platform. Humans in uniform walked briskly, speaking in quick voices. Some carried tools, some walked with children. The aliens were nervous. These humans were taller than they had imagined. Their faces were strong and determined, but not cruel. They were met by Captain Daniel and Scientist Amy. Other humans joined them, including Jack, a soldier with calm eyes, Claire, a sharp officer who seemed to notice everything, and Paul, a young engineer who moved quickly from one task to another. Daniel shook hands with Frank and Lisa. Humans did not have the same kind of skin as the aliens, but the gesture was respectful. Amy handed them data pads. She showed scans of the enemy fleets, their speed, and likely attack paths. Lisa gasped. The humans understood immediately. They discussed tactics quickly, but not loudly. Each human spoke with purpose, and they listened to each other. Lisa realized this was different from her council. Here, words had weight. Daniel said they could help, but they needed to train together first. They needed to learn each other's strengths. The aliens had knowledge of their home systems and secret paths in space. The humans had ships, weapons, and tactics the aliens had never seen. Lisa and Frank agreed. They spent hours showing humans their star maps, sensor networks, and communication methods. Paul and Claire took notes, asking questions that Lisa did not always have answers for. But they tried, and the humans nodded with understanding. Then humans showed the aliens their training fields. Humans moved in lines, ran drills, practiced flying small ships, and ran simulations. Jack and Claire demonstrated combat strategies. Lisa was surprised. Humans were not the biggest or strongest, but they worked together. Even when mistakes happened, they corrected each other without anger. Frank watched quietly. He had expected humans to be reckless, loud, and chaotic. Instead, they were disciplined, focused, and brave. Lisa noticed a spark of hope in her father figure's eyes. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive. For the next few days, the aliens stayed in the human city. They visited schools, workshops, and hospitals. They saw human children learning science and strategy. They saw workers repairing machines and caring for each other. It was a different kind of strength. Humans did not need to be feared to be strong. They were strong because they believed in each other. One night, Lisa walked with Amy on a quiet street. Lights shone softly from the buildings. The air smelled of rain. Lisa said that her people had always been laughed at, called weak and helpless. Humans had been laughed at too, she guessed, but now they were ready to help. Amy smiled. She said that humans fought not because they wanted glory, but because they believed in protecting what mattered. Lisa nodded slowly. She felt the weight of responsibility. If her people were to survive, they had to trust the humans fully. Frank met with Daniel in a control room overlooking the city. They discussed fleet arrangements. The humans had fast ships, powerful lasers, and clever tactics. The aliens had sensors, hidden bases, and knowledge of enemy patterns. Together, they could make a plan that no single race could do alone. Lisa joined them later. She suggested a small group of humans travel to her people's outer colonies to train with the scouts there. Daniel agreed. Jack, Claire, and Paul volunteered. They would teach humans how to move quietly, how to hide, and how to strike at the enemy before they could react. The training began. Humans and aliens worked side by side. One day during a training exercise in space, human and alien ships practiced intercepting an enemy fleet. The aliens were impressed by how humans coordinated. Paul adjusted shields while Claire calculated angles for laser fire. Jack led an attack team guiding smaller alien ships. Even in a simulated attack, the teamwork felt real. Frank said quietly, "These humans are not loud or cruel. They fight with their hearts. They fight for each other." Lisa nodded. She thought about the council laughing at them. They had been right to laugh, but they had been wrong about humans. Humans were strong in ways that could not be measured by size or numbers. At night, Lisa looked at the stars from the human city. The enemy fleet was moving closer. Small lights blinked far away, signals of approaching war. She knew that soon the real test would come. But for the first time, she did not feel helpless. Humans were with them. They had plans, ships, and courage. Frank joined her. He put a hand on her shoulder and said, "We are no longer alone." Lisa smiled faintly. She could feel a new hope rising in her chest. Together with humans, maybe, just maybe, they could survive the coming storm. As the human city slept, ships in the hangar prepared for deployment. Humans and aliens moved side by side, loading supplies, running systems checks, and running drills. Lisa watched them and realized something important. The enemy might be strong, but humans were stronger in ways the galaxy had not seen. The alliance between her people and humans had begun. What had started as fear and laughter was now becoming trust and preparation. The coming battle would test them all. But Lisa believed that when humans and her people stood together, even the darkness of space could not break them. And far in the distance beyond the stars, the enemy fleet continued to move. They were vast, powerful, and merciless. They did not yet know what waited for them. The humans were readying strategies they had never used before, and the aliens were learning courage they had never known. The stage was set for a meeting that would change the galaxy. The first signs of the enemy came quietly. Small ships appeared at the edge of the alien home system. Scouts moved like shadows, scanning for defenses and weakness. Lisa saw them on the sensors and felt a tight knot of fear in her chest. This was real. The enemy had arrived. Frank gathered the council of his people in the command room. The walls glowed softly with maps of the planets and paths of enemy ships. Alarms sounded, small and steady, marking approaching threats. Lisa stood beside him, pointing to the paths on the star map. She explained how quickly the enemy moved, how many ships were coming, and how vulnerable their outer colonies were. Some of the council leaders shook their heads. They had believed the humans could help, but the numbers were overwhelming. They whispered that the attack could not be stopped. Some argued to surrender before the enemy reached their worlds. Lisa felt her hand shake. She had to stay strong. Frank placed a firm hand on her shoulder, steadying her. Far in space, the humans had already deployed fleets. Captain Daniel, Commander Ryan, Pilot Emma, and others moved quickly to their stations. Human ships were smaller than the enemy's, but they were fast, precise, and clever. They had practiced for this, and they were ready to fight. Lisa and Frank watched the first skirmishes from the command room. Laser fire streaked across space, leaving bright blue trails. Enemy ships were powerful, firing in waves that could destroy several colonies in minutes. But the humans struck back with careful maneuvers, hitting weak points and retreating when necessary. Even small human fighters made a difference, confusing the enemy and buying precious time. Jack led a group of human pilots in a risky move. They flew through an asteroid field, using the rocks for cover. Lisa gasped as they dodged enemy lasers by inches. Claire coordinated with alien scouts to guide the humans safely through unknown territory. Each successful strike slowed the enemy fleet. Frank leaned over a console watching the live feeds from human drones. He had never seen teamwork like this. The humans communicated in ways his people had never imagined. Short signals, quick moves, and trust in each other. Lisa realized that fear did not control them, courage did. On the surface of one planet, civilians ran for shelter. Engineers like Paul and Kevin worked to reinforce buildings and energy shields. Nurses like Mary moved quickly between injured and frightened, calming them, giving them hope. Even when alarms sounded and explosions shook the ground, humans stayed calm and focused. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. They were brave in a way her people had not expected. The enemy fleet adapted quickly. They sent waves of faster ships trying to flank the humans and the alien defenses. Frank and Lisa watched as their outer colonies fell under bombardment. Buildings crumbled, communications went dark, and panic rose among the weaker populations. But human commanders did not panic. They rerouted ships, evacuated civilians, and sent counterattacks at key points. Emma, the pilot, made a daring move. She flew her ship between two massive enemy cruisers and fired missiles that hit the engines of one. The explosion sent shockwaves across space, and the enemy had to adjust formation. Lisa clapped her hands in disbelief. She had never seen courage like this before. Frank smiled quietly, proud. The enemy did not expect humans to fight this way. They had underestimated the aliens' allies. Each small victory gave hope to the civilians and to Lisa's people. She realized that the humans were more than soldiers. They were protectors. They fought not for glory but for life itself. Daniel coordinated with the alien leaders. He spoke calmly, giving orders that balanced risk and safety. His voice was firm but never cruel. Lisa learned quickly, helping with communication between humans and alien fleets. She felt a surge of confidence as their combined forces managed to hold the enemy back, even in desperate situations. During one night shift, Frank watched a feed from the human strategy room. Small ships darted through the darkness, invisible to most sensors. Humans used asteroid belts, nebula clouds, and old mining stations as hiding points. They struck at the enemy where they were weak and vanished before the enemy could respond. It was clever and dangerous, but it worked. Lisa and Frank realized that their people's knowledge of the stars and the humans' tactics made a perfect combination. Alien scouts pointed out enemy supply lines and secret warp routes. Human ships intercepted and destroyed key targets. Each strike slowed the enemy, giving time for evacuation and defense. One human, pilot Emma, became a hero in real time. She led a squad to distract the enemy from a retreating colony. Enemy lasers lit up space, yet she and her squad moved flawlessly, protecting the retreating ships. Lisa could not believe the courage of such young humans. They risked everything without hesitation. On another planet, human engineers and alien technicians worked together to rebuild damaged systems. Paul and Kevin patched shields, while aliens monitored energy flows. Explosions shook the ground, but they did not stop. Each repaired system allowed more civilians to escape safely. Lisa felt hope growing in her chest. Maybe they could survive. The enemy tried to divide the humans and aliens. They attacked with waves from multiple directions, hoping to confuse them. But the human leaders adapted. Claire redirected ships. Ryan called for strategic retreats and counterattacks. Daniel worked with Lisa to adjust plans based on new enemy positions. Together, they were stronger than any single race. Frank felt proud, but anxious. He had lived many years, seen many dangers, but this was unlike anything before. The humans were teaching him and his people that strength was more than power. It was courage, unity, and willingness to fight for others. Lisa nodded in agreement. She had learned fast. Humans were not perfect, but they were unbreakable when together. One evening, after a long day of fighting, Lisa walked among the human ships. She saw Jack checking systems, Claire planning routes, and Paul helping engineers. Humans laughed quietly even under pressure. Their courage was real, but their joy made them human. Lisa realized that this was part of their strength. They fought because they cared, but they lived because they valued life. Frank joined her on the observation deck. They watched enemy ships retreating after another failed attack. The humans had taken heavy damage, but their tactics worked. Lisa felt relief, but she knew this was only the beginning. The enemy would return, stronger and angrier. "They do not give up," Frank said quietly. Lisa nodded. She thought of the council laughing at them. Now they saw the truth. Humans were not weak, not reckless. They were a force of courage and unity that the galaxy could not ignore. Lisa and Frank returned to the command room. They worked with Daniel, Ryan, and Amy to plan the next moves. Humans and aliens together created strategies that no enemy could predict. Each day they grew stronger, more confident, more united. As night fell over the planets, humans continued to patrol space. Small lights moved through darkness, keeping watch for any sign of the enemy. Lisa felt a quiet pride. These humans were her allies, her protectors, and her teachers. They had changed the meaning of strength for her people. Far away, beyond the stars, the enemy fleet paused. They did not understand why their attacks were failing. They had underestimated humans and the courage they brought. They had underestimated the power of unity between species. Soon, they would learn. But for now, humans and aliens held the line. They were tired, injured, and worried, but they did not stop. Lisa looked at the stars and whispered, "We will survive. Together." Frank nodded beside her, feeling hope he had not felt in decades. And the battle continued. Each day, each strike, each small victory showed that the enemy's strength was not enough. The humans had changed the fight, and Lisa's people had learned that true courage could not be laughed at or ignored. It came from standing together, even against impossible odds. The battle grew larger. Enemy fleets had regrouped and moved faster than anyone expected. They attacked multiple planets at once, hoping to break the alliance between humans and the alien race. Explosions lit up the skies, and the sounds of lasers and shields filled space. Lisa and Frank watched from the command center. Heartbeats fast, but determination stronger. Daniel and Commander Ryan coordinated human fleets. Pilots like Emma and Jack moved through asteroid fields, dodging fire and striking at weak points. Claire directed groups of ships, guiding them in precise formations. Human ships were smaller, but they worked as one, striking like a wave of lightning. Lisa moved between human and alien officers, helping them communicate. Her voice was calm, giving orders and advice. Aliens followed, trusting the humans and each other in ways they had never done before. She felt a surge of pride. Her people were learning courage from humans, and humans were showing them strength in ways they had never imagined. Frank stood beside her, watching the fleets. He had been a leader for decades, but he had never seen unity like this. Humans did not argue or panic. They adjusted quickly. When a fleet was damaged, they retreated in order, protected civilians, and struck back from unexpected directions. On one burning planet, civilians ran for cover as enemy fire struck buildings. Engineers like Paul and Kevin worked in the rubble, repairing shields and machinery. Nurses like Mary guided the injured to safety. Even when alarms rang and explosions shook the ground, humans and aliens stayed calm and focused. Lisa realized that courage was not just in ships or weapons. It was in people who did not give up when everything was falling apart. Emma led a daring squad through enemy lines. Small human fighters moved like shadows, taking out communication ships and supply lines. The enemy grew frustrated. They had underestimated the humans' creativity and bravery. Each human action saved countless lives and gave alien fleets the chance to regroup. Lisa and Frank coordinated the alien fleets with human strategy. They used hidden warpaths and sensor knowledge to surprise enemy ships. Aliens who had once feared the humans now followed their instructions with confidence. Even the youngest alien soldiers who had been terrified at the beginning now fought bravely, inspired by humans. On another planet, Jack and Claire guided alien fighters through the atmosphere. Enemy bombs rained down, but humans and aliens worked together to protect the cities. Small ships blocked incoming fire while civilians evacuated. Lisa watched from orbit, heart pounding. and realized that this was the first time her people felt hope in the face of real destruction. Daniel in the human command ship issued calm orders. He did not panic even when enemy fleets seemed unstoppable. Amy calculated trajectories for attacks, finding weak points in enemy armor. Commander Ryan organized counterattacks, striking at enemy supply ships. Humans and aliens moved as one, like a single mind, controlling thousands of ships. Frank noticed something remarkable. Humans did not fight for pride or glory. They fought for each other. Even small acts, like saving one alien ship from destruction or helping civilians escape, were done without hesitation. Lisa realized that humans were teaching her people something important. Courage was in the heart, not in the size of the fleet or strength of weapons. The enemy tried to divide the fleets by sending fast attack ships to lure them away. But humans and aliens anticipated it. Claire directed decoy ships while Emma's squad moved to intercept the enemy. Jack guided alien fighters to strike from behind. The enemy's plan failed, and they suffered heavy losses. Lisa felt a flicker of hope. Together, humans and aliens could stand against any force. Far from the front lines, human engineers repaired damaged ships while aliens provided power and sensors. Paul and Kevin worked tirelessly, passing tools and helping guide systems. The aliens learned quickly. The humans taught them to improvise, adapt, and act quickly. Lisa realized that this was as important as the battles themselves. If her people could learn to fight and adapt like humans, they could survive anything. Frank watched pilot Emma take her ship on another risky run. She flew close to the enemy capital ship, dodging fire, and fired precise missiles at the engines. The ship exploded in a brilliant fireball. Alien fleets cheered in disbelief. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. Courage like this had never been seen in her history. Humans had changed the fight. Daniel called for a pause in the attacks to regroup. Humans and aliens repaired ships, shared information, and planned the next strike. Lisa and Frank joined strategy meetings, learning from humans and teaching them about alien strengths. It was a true partnership. Together, they had become more than a sum of their parts. On the surface of one planet, civilians watched the sky. Lasers streaked across the stars. Explosions shook the ground, but humans and aliens worked together to protect them. Mary and other nurses guided people to shelters. Paul, Kevin, and alien engineers repaired broken shields and energy lines. Lisa walked among them, inspired by their courage. Frank spoke quietly to her. "See how they fight? Not for honor, not for fame, but for life itself." Lisa nodded. She realized that the laughter of the council now seemed like a distant memory. Those who had laughed at her people had not understood what real courage was. As night fell, human and alien fleets prepared for another wave of attacks. The enemy regrouped, stronger and angrier, but humans were ready. They moved with precision, striking at weak points, protecting allies, and rescuing civilians. The unity between humans and aliens had become a force no enemy could ignore. Lisa coordinated a small group of alien scouts to follow human pilots through dangerous space corridors. Together, they struck at enemy supply lines, cutting off reinforcements and slowing attacks. Even the youngest aliens learned quickly, guided by human bravery and skill. Frank watched the combined fleet. He realized that the enemy had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated the humans. Humans fought not only with weapons but with their hearts. Lisa's people, once weak and mocked, now stood bravely beside them. In one final daring strike of the day, Emma and Jack led a small squad to disable an enemy weapon platform. Lasers and explosions surrounded them, but they moved with calm precision. Claire directed them from afar, giving them openings and guidance. Paul and Kevin monitored systems to ensure the strike succeeded. Lisa's heart raced as she watched them succeed against overwhelming odds. The enemy fleet, seeing so many failures, began to retreat. Humans and aliens pursued cautiously, knowing the battle was not over. Lisa and Frank felt relief, but also knew that tomorrow would bring another wave. Each victory was hard-earned, each loss a lesson. As night fell over the planets, humans and aliens worked side by side to repair ships, treat the wounded, and plan defenses. Lisa realized that this was more than a battle. It was a lesson in courage, unity, and trust. Her people had learned that strength was not only in numbers or weapons, but in the will to fight for each other. Frank put a hand on Lisa's shoulder. "We are no longer weak," he said. Lisa nodded. She could feel hope, stronger than ever. The enemy may be powerful, but humans and aliens together were unstoppable. And far beyond the stars, the enemy fleet retreated, confused and broken. They had underestimated humans and the courage they brought. They had underestimated the unity that now protected Lisa's people. The next day, the fight would continue, but the alliance had proven itself. The laughter of the galaxy was over. Humans and aliens had shown what true strength could do. The stars were quiet now, but the fires of courage burned bright. Lisa, Frank, and the humans knew that the coming battles would test them further. But for the first time, they did not fear the enemy. They had discovered something stronger than fear: unity, courage, and the heart of humans fighting alongside them. The final battle had come. The enemy fleet moved like a dark storm across the stars, their ships vast and filled with weapons of destruction. Planets trembled under their approach, and the smaller alien fleets prepared nervously. Lisa and Frank stood at the command center, watching the readings. The humans were ready, but even they knew this fight would test everything. Captain Daniel's voice came calm but firm over the communication system. "All fleets, prepare for full engagement. Protect civilians, support each other, and strike with precision. Together, we are stronger than they believe." Human pilots, including Emma, Jack, and Claire, flew in formation with alien ships. They moved quickly, weaving between asteroids and planetary debris to avoid enemy fire. Paul and Kevin worked in the engineering bays, repairing shields and reinforcing engines. Nurses like Mary tended to injured civilians, moving calmly despite explosions shaking the ground. Every human and alien had a role, and every role mattered. Lisa coordinated the alien scouts, sending messages between human leaders and alien commanders. She felt her heart pounding, but she spoke with clarity, giving directions and updates as the battle grew closer. Frank stood beside her, calm and focused, watching the fleets and analyzing the enemy movements. The first wave of the enemy struck fiercely. Massive ships fired lasers that cut through space, destroying smaller defenses. Alien fleets took heavy hits, but humans acted quickly. Emma led a squad of fast fighters, striking at weak points in the enemy armor, while Jack guided alien ships to flank them. Claire calculated safe paths and openings for attacks, moving with precision that saved dozens of ships. Lisa watched in awe as humans and aliens moved as one. Each action was coordinated, every move protecting allies and civilians. Her people, once laughed at and called weak, now stood boldly alongside the humans. They fired their weapons, activated shields, and used hidden warp paths to surprise the enemy. Frank realized that this was more than a battle. It was a lesson in courage. Humans did not fight for glory. They fought for each other and for those who could not defend themselves. Lisa's people had never seen this kind of bravery. It inspired them, gave them strength, and made them unbreakable when together. One of the enemy's largest cruisers aimed at a populated colony. Human pilots flew in front, drawing its fire while alien fighters attacked its engines. Emma maneuvered her ship close to the cruiser, dodging lasers and fired precision missiles. The cruiser exploded in a bright fireball, sending shockwaves across space. Lisa and Frank cheered quietly, knowing this victory saved countless lives. The enemy was relentless. More ships came from behind, trying to trap the humans and aliens. Claire and Daniel coordinated counterattacks, using smaller fleets as decoys while hidden alien scouts struck from unexpected directions. Paul and Kevin monitored systems, sending data and rerouting power to shields and engines. Each small action mattered, and together, they turned the tide of battle. On the surface of the planets, civilians watched the stars light up with fire and lasers. Explosions shook the ground, but they were safe, thanks to the humans and aliens working together. Mary and other nurses guided people to shelters, keeping calm even as alarms rang and buildings trembled. Lisa walked among them, inspired by their bravery. Frank spoke quietly to Lisa. "Look at them. They are not just fighting with weapons. They are fighting with their hearts." Lisa nodded. She realized the enemy had underestimated humans. They had thought humans were weak, reckless, or untrained. Now they saw the truth. Humans were courageous, united, and unstoppable when they fought for each other. Emma led a daring squad to disable the enemy command ship. They flew through heavy fire, dodging lasers and missiles. Jack guided alien ships in support, striking from behind. Claire calculated attack angles and escape routes. Paul monitored systems, adjusting shields and weapons in real time. Lisa watched, breath held, as the squad succeeded, leaving the enemy command ship in flames. The enemy fleet began to retreat, confused and battered. On the planets, humans and aliens worked to rebuild. Engineers repaired buildings, ships, and systems. Nurses cared for the injured. Civilians cleaned streets and planted gardens. The galaxy had seen destruction, but also hope and courage. Lisa walked among the people, seeing children smile, and she felt peace she had never felt before. Daniel, Ryan, Emma, Jack, Claire, Amy, Paul, and Kevin moved among the people, helping wherever needed. They did not boast of victory. They quietly ensured that life returned to normal. Lisa realized that this humility was part of their strength. They fought bravely, but they also cared deeply. It was this combination that made them unstoppable. The enemy had fled, and the galaxy was safe for now. The laughter that once mocked Lisa's people was gone. Respect had replaced it. Humans had shown the galaxy that they were strong in ways that could not be measured by numbers or weapons. Courage, loyalty, and unity were far more powerful. Frank turned to Lisa. "We have learned much from them. The galaxy has learned as well. Humans are not to be underestimated." Lisa nodded. She looked at the stars and thought of the battles, the bravery and the hope that had carried them through. The alliance between humans and aliens had been born in fear, tested in fire, and proven in courage. It would not be broken. Lisa knew that whatever challenges came next, they would face them together. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Underestimating humans was the greatest mistake any race could make. As the sun set on the planets, humans and aliens looked to the future. Fleets repaired, cities rebuilt, and the people celebrated quietly. The stars were calm now, but the lessons remained. Courage, unity, and loyalty had won the day. Lisa and Frank stood together watching the horizon. The war had ended, but the bond formed in fire and fear would last forever. And so, the galaxy changed. Those who had once laughed now spoke with respect. Humans and their allies had proven that even the smallest or weakest could survive if they stood together. The laughter of the past faded, replaced by admiration and awe. Courage had triumphed, and the story of the humans and the brave aliens would be remembered for generations. Lisa whispered to Frank. "They laughed at us until we united with humans." Frank smiled. "And now they will never laugh again." Together, humans and aliens looked at the stars, ready for whatever the galaxy might bring, confident that courage and unity could overcome any challenge. The future was theirs, and it was bright. At first, mistakes were frequent. Humans tripped over terrain, and aliens moved too slowly for some drills, but slowly they adapted. Humans learned to use alien technology. Aliens learned to coordinate attacks with human ships. Every success made them more confident. Lisa noticed how humans encouraged each other. When a human fell or failed, another helped without shame. Her people were not used to this. They often blamed mistakes on fear or weakness. Seeing humans work together so openly made Lisa feel a warmth she had not felt in years. Frank watched human pilots fly through simulation courses. Emma, a young pilot, maneuvered ships through asteroid fields faster than the simulations suggested possible. She laughed and corrected mistakes in real time. Frank shook his head in disbelief. Humans were strange, unpredictable, but incredibly effective. One evening, Lisa and Frank held a meeting with the human officers. They drew up plans of the enemy's likely attack paths. Amy showed detailed scans of ships that were coming. The humans analyzed the information and suggested new strategies. Lisa realized that together they were thinking faster and smarter than either species alone could manage. As the days passed, the aliens began to trust humans more and more. They shared stories of their past, their failures, and their fears. Humans listened, sometimes asking questions, sometimes simply nodding. Jack said that courage was not about size or power, but about refusing to give up. Lisa repeated that idea to Frank. He smiled, proud of her understanding. The humans also taught the aliens about improvisation. When a tool or weapon failed, humans would find a new way. Lisa saw that flexibility combined with discipline made humans dangerous opponents. She had thought humans were weak. Now she understood why some races feared them. Humans and aliens pursued cautiously, avoiding traps and focusing on weak points. Each victory gave hope to the civilians, the fleets, and Lisa's people. They had survived the impossible and had proven that courage, unity, and determination could overcome even the greatest enemy. Daniel and Frank held a council after the battle. Humans and aliens met together, discussing losses, victories, and the lessons learned. Lisa spoke with confidence, her voice steady. She thanked the humans for their courage and guidance. She told her people that strength was not just power, but unity, courage, and willingness to fight for each other. Frank added quietly, "The galaxy laughed at us before. Now they will see that we are not weak, and neither are allies." Lisa smiled. She looked at the humans around her, and she felt a deep respect. They were brave, clever, and loyal beyond words. They had changed her people forever. The council of other races, which had once laughed at Lisa's people, now approached with caution and respect. They spoke carefully, asking questions and offering assistance. No one dared to mock humans. The stories of their courage had spread quickly, and the galaxy began to see humans in a new light. Lisa gave a speech from the command platform. She spoke simply but clearly. She told the galaxy that humans were not proud or loud for no reason. They fought for what was right, for life, and for those who could not defend themselves. She thanked her people for learning courage, and humans for teaching it. She said the Alliance had proven that unity could overcome fear and power. Frank nodded beside her. "We have survived because we did not fight alone. We survived because we stood together. The enemy underestimated us, but they will not make that mistake again." The crowd of humans and aliens cheered. It was a quiet, strong cheer, full of relief, pride, and hope.